how how much do you know how to charge people, What's your value and worth? Like, that's always my biggest issue in, like, doing this thing. Because, like, I can pick up sales, right? But the thing is, I just don't know how to charge and the process with that. And I feel like that's, like, it's not the hardest part, but it's the part where it's confusing because I work for, Publicis Group. So this is a bit different. Like, they have massive clients, whereas now here I am, I'm moving on to smaller clients, which is, like, spending, like, not even a quarter of the budget I have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I came from big agency, and
Yeah,
we worked on films, man. We worked on movie studios, and
yeah.
we're talking $100 million, 4 down 100, but like 40, 30, $60 million budgets. And now I do plumbing, right?
Oh,
So,
no, no. Exactly as
so
me, like, I'm, like, spending, like, over millions in quarters, and here I am, like, kind of trying to start my own. I don't know what the fuck to charge them because I feel like, fuck, is 1K a month too much? Should I go 700 a month or whatever? And the thing is, because I'm starting off, I don't know how much to charge.
yeah, yeah, great point. So this brings up a couple things. I do want to finish on the agency stuff. The agency stuff is awesome because you do learn, but the problem is with agent, and trust me, my whole life was big. I worked at IPG, Initiative, Media Edge, God, Mindshare. And the one thing I learned was those kind of clients, when you're running a small business, you're not going to get these big huge clients. Although it's kind of weird, we do work with indie studios. That's a little strange, which I love. I think that's really cool. But most of my clients are they're like me. They're exactly like me. They're trying to make it. They live month to month. They're selling product, and the problem. You actually bring up a good point. Like, how much is your time worth? Well, your time is worth what you know, right? So if you know a lot, right, and you know how to scale a business, you can charge a lot, right? If you're learning, that's a whole different thing, because what's going to happen is you're gonna charge, you're gonna kind of dupe them, right? You're gonna be like, well, I can do all this stuff for you and I can scale your business, and now I want a $3,000 a month retainer when you can do okay, you're gonna do all right, and they're gonna be pissed, right? So the question becomes, how much you charge. Here's what I always say: it depends how big your operation is, right? The first thing I would say is, your operation, is it just you, or do you have like any freelancers or any like VAs? It's just
Honestly,
you, right?
it's pretty much just me. Like, I've only kind of basically landed only 2 clients. Yeah, so at the moment, it's just me.
Okay, got it. Totally understand. The problem here is, you don't want to get into the $400 a month trap. That's what's going to happen, right? So what's going to happen here is, you're going to get clients that are like, okay, $100 a week, $400, right? When really, when you break that down, right, $400. This happens for some reason. It's like a psychological thing. I get this all the time. $400 a month, $100 a week. The problem with that is, how much is your time worth? Because when you break down $100 a week, well, you have to do client meetings, right? You have to do reporting. You have to do optimizations. You have to check on the buys, right? And this is all stuff, like, some of these are 1 hour, some of these are 2 hours. Like, client reporting is probably like 90 minutes, at least 90 minutes to 2 hours, right? It can be, depending how big the buys are. Because if you have Facebook, you have Instagram, then you have to write the recommendations and the insights, and you got to present it. Well, that's something. Client meetings could be an hour. Optimizations, let's say 90 minutes a week, right? But heaven forbid you got to build a campaign from scratch. That's when you're screwed, because then that's a whole shitload of hours. Checking on the buys. So let's just say every other day for 20 minutes, right? And this is very conservative. Like, it could be more, it could be less. But right away, off 1 week, you're already looking at 3 hours, 90 minutes, 20 times what? 3. Let's just say this is an hour or so, without any building, guys. So you're looking at 1, 3, hour and a half, 4.5, 4.5, 5.5 hours here. There's 5.5 hours, right? 5.45 hours divided by $100. That's roughly $18 an hour, right? And stop me if I'm talking bullshit. Like, call me on it. So it's $18 to $20 an hour. Minimum wage in California is $18, $20 an hour, right? I would say all of us are skilled labor, and skilled labor means people who are web developers at that level, like, like consultants, right? Like, I don't think any of us on this call are worth $20 an hour. I don't. I think we're triple that. I'd say you're at roughly 50 to 60 an hour, at least 50 to 60 an hour, right? And tell me if I'm bullshit. Am I right? Or am I,
No,
so
right.
yeah. So when you back out the math, well, wait a minute, 5.5 times whatever, let's just call it 5 hours. This is being conservative, folks. This is if all this is like an okay week. This is an okay week. So heaven forbid he says, hey, I want you to redo all the buys and I want you to build stuff out, or I have a whole other line for you to do. And it's going to take 7 campaigns and all this stuff. This almost triples. So the problem becomes, well, if you're $50 or $60 an hour and on a conservative week, it's 5.5 hours. I mean, you're looking at $500 minimum a week. Well, $500 minimum a week equals $2K a month, right? Now, the problem is, well, when it's $2K a month and somebody's spending maybe $1,000 a month, how do you sell that? That's the problem, right? And so that's when a lot of people get caught in the $400 trap. I call it the $400 trap. That's what it is. So because right, they're not going to sell. They're not going to say, okay, here's 2,000 for even if it's a $3,000 spend, or even a $4,000 spend. They're not gonna pay $5,000 in services, right? So I wouldn't say it's this number, but it's somewhere between the $400, and it's not $400. I'm saying that's the bottom. That's like where the bit, like, you shouldn't even be there. This is called the 400. It's called 500. So somewhere between 500 and 3,000 is where you would be, or not 3,000, 2,000. Sorry, is where you would be. Here's where now we all, guys, I wanted to tell you guys a quick story. When I first started, I got paid $2 an hour, two, and that was 2 years ago. And I just wanted to get my Upwork profile going, and I had to work for reviews. Now it says 20, but it's actually like 80. It's $80 an hour is how much I charge, $70 an hour just for my time. I do have like a small business unit that charges roughly $1,000 a month. But the question becomes on your guys' time when a client says, hey, I'm spending $1,000 to $2,000 a month. You have to kind of stay firm and be like, okay, well, I have to live. I'm not $400 a month. I'm probably easily double that. I'd say I'm more 800 to again, 2,000. This is where I would put myself. And I still do this. I work with $2,000 retainers all the time. I think that's actually, but it also depends, again, going back here, what you know. If you know a lot, you can scale and demand a lot. Do you know Facebook? Do you know Google Ads? Do you have a Meta Blueprint certification? Do you have case studies? That all contributes to this. So when you fight I really mean that, for a higher wage, you have to back it up. And please, anybody stop me if I'm talking gibberish. You have to back it up. And how do you back that up? How do you get to this 2,000? You got to back it up with case studies. You got to back it up with reviews and screenshots. You have to show you're worth $2,000 or $1,000, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question? Kind of, or it probably doesn't, but it gives you a little bit of direction.
No,
right?
It does. I really like the breakdown with the client meeting, reporting, optimization, and shit. So that's
Did I lose you?
that's real good. That kind of like, it kind of spreads like where your time is going. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so what were you saying? Sorry, for some reason I couldn't hear you.
The breakdown was really good with client meetings, reporting, optimization, and all that. And like, it just kind of gave me like a thorough understanding to how to kind of charge. Because at the end of the day, like, it is your time that's kind of being brought out as well.
Yeah. And a big thing you guys got to watch out for. So this is what I would advise anybody on this call. I don't know what to charge. Draw this out. Automatically, it's 1 hour for client meeting. Automatically, it should be 1 hour. So that's already 1 hour. Reporting's already takes you 1 to 2 hours to do reporting. Optimizations a week. Don't be cheap. Be real. Like, is it an hour? Is it between an hour and 2 hours? That's how much you're looking. So you're looking about 15. You're optimizing too is buying. That's actually buying too. So that's taking the reporting and then implementing the changes. So that's what that is. So that could be That could be even 2 hours, 3 hours. It depends, right? So 90 minutes, 3 hours. And then checking on shit. Just checking on stuff can easily add up to another hour a week. So you have to kind of break it out. Like when do you decide this, right? Like you know this in the back of your mind. So when you do the discovery call, and he tells you all the problems, you know, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have three couples different situations. You're going to have somebody who has a buy in motion and it's shitty, right? And they're asking you to save it. Because if it was doing great, they wouldn't be on your door. They're coming to you because 9 times out of 10, it's crap. So there's that. There's also the people who haven't done shit and they want you to build everything from scratch. That, my friends, throws this out the window. Because if they say, hey, I need you to build all these campaigns and all this stuff. So you do not have a learned Google Ads account. You do not have a learned Facebook account. You have to set up the conversions. You see, automatically all this triples right away. Especially automatically turns into 6 hours right away. So you have to kind of say that to them, like, okay, we could do it 2 different ways. Either I ask for a lot in the front end, or we set up a contract where I'm your guy for at least 12 months. And I get 12 months of steady income at 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. And if you're willing to sign that contract and be cool with it, that's cool. Like I don't mind putting in that front effort. The problem though is it's with new accounts, it's getting harder and harder to prove to make them work, right? It's not as easy as it used to be. Where like the person who I was helping earlier had a good point. Like he got lucky. He did max clicks and he got conversions. It's not that lucky, guys. It's actually a lot. I'm shocked he got that well. Like it usually is never that good. It's usually shitty for a long time. So it's really what your time is worth, but it should be between these 2 numbers. Well, actually, no, it should be between these 2 numbers, 800 and 2,000. That's where you should be. US. Cool. Any other questions on that? Anything that you have questions that I should go over?